Bryce Young didn't play that great against the Bucks, so I brought in Jackson Krueger Sports to do a full breakdown. We're going to do a reaction right now. My name is Nick. This is Roll Coverage. Let's go.
Hey, I thought it was all over.
Again, this is Jackson Krueger Sports giving us a full analysis of this. I absolutely love his channel. Can't watch it all, unfortunately, because I digest quite a bit. But overall, I'm super excited for this. Mr. Krueger, you have the floor.
All right, let's talk about Bryce Young of the Carolina Panthers, first overall pick. If you haven't heard, things aren't going well, although I thought he played pretty well against Tampa Bay.
I would agree with that too. I think that there was some good moments, there's some really bad moments, but of course, this was a game where a lot of the Bucks' run defense was hurt, or at least had nagging injuries. So this should have been a game that should have been much closer. This was absolutely a win possible for us, but we dropped the ball. Seems to be what the Carolina Panthers have been doing so far this year.
It wasn't, again, he didn't light up the stat sheet or anything like that. Just in the situation he's in, I don't think there's going to be a game this season where he lights up the stat sheet. But I thought he did a lot of nice things and, put the ball in the right area more often than not. Something like this, it's zone coverage. So 3rd down and 10, obviously a bit of a tough situation here, but you have a receiver running a route that could potentially get open on this play. You can see it where kind of underneath the zone coverage there, how it could work. Young is going to take the snap right here. He, doesn't even look over there right away. Does a good job of kind of looking away for just a second to make sure he doesn't, give away.
It's pretty decent separation right there.
What he's doing, but this is where he wanted to throw the ball all the way, I would assume. There's a window here. So, okay, here's an opportunity, right? And that's what you want to see from Bryce Young. Is you want to see just give him some windows. You don't need a perfect situation, but when he does have decent situations, when there are windows to hit a player, can he hit that player? Well, here, as you see, the answer is yes. I mean, this was initially ruled incomplete, but it was a good throw from Bryce Young to be able to make that, and that's what you like to see from Young, is just the consistency of putting the ball in the right position. And I gotta be honest, I feel like for the most part this season, I have seen that from him. There's obviously been the mistakes, but I do feel like when there are windows for him to hit, he does do a pretty good job at hitting those windows. And this is obviously what, why he got drafted 1st overall in the first place, was because of how good he was at doing exactly that. Also, this play is very interesting. So it's going to be this is now going to be a man coverage play, but you're going to run a play action, Bryce Young is, and then the over the middle route, that's the one that he's hoping gets open here. Okay, again, simple enough. Let's see how it works. So Young takes the snap, he's going to run the play action, but watch his footwork. Watch how he quickly gets his feet back over, gets them planted to where he has an open receiver here, right?
Yeah, to be honest, by like a yard or two. This should be a simple completion, should be something super easy. It does seem like he's already made his decision and isn't adjusting to what's happening. He just knew, I'm going to this person with the ball no matter what, which could lend credence to the Adam Thielen is being fed narrative, though I don't know that that's the case anymore. As most people know, just bracket or go after Adam Thielen, and we basically can't get anything going unless it's just a situation where our run offense just happens to be dominant, which it really hasn't been this year.
I mean, this is wide open, but the difficulty is...
And sorry, I got an itch. Before anybody tells me, oh, the run offense wasn't dominant when Chuba Hubbard had 120 yards and 2 touchdowns, no, it wasn't. It wasn't, because we didn't win, so...
Getting the ball over there while his feet aren't, fully planted, and while he had to kind of, quickly get his feet planted to, now still throw somewhat off balance. However, he is able to do that. They're able to pick up a completion. Again,
easy completion. Should have been, if he would have dropped that, that would have been 100% on the receiver's fault. Bryce put it in the perfect place.
And this is the first step, right? And a young quarterback, we all want to...
I'm not going to lie, it's still so funny to watch Adam Thielen just get dragged. I'm going to go back just a tiny bit, because that was just kind of funny. When he does it in reverse, just makes me giggle.
Quarterback, like, we all want to...
Still funny.
Jump the gun and say, are you great right away?
So real quick, look at that pocket. Like, oh my God. 3 dudes running open, and then we got 72-66, and everybody just like, oh shit, he's about to die. Man, this is the problem. It's not coaching. It's not any of that stuff. The players just don't have it. At least not this year.
say, are you great right away? And, unfortunately for Young, the guy drafted right after him, CJ Stroud, has been great right away. And so because of that, you kind of look at it and say, well, oh, wow, why aren't you great right away, Bryce Young? But that's not usually how it works. Usually you have to make sure you can just play in the NFL, and then you focus on trying to be great. Like, again, the comparison I made before was Tua, who, Tua drafted in front of Justin Herbert. Herbert was amazing as a rookie. Tua, not so much, but Tua has, gotten much better as his, career has gone along. Now, going over to something like this, I brought up the mistakes. There still are those stupid mistakes that drive you crazy watching Bryce Young. You can say they're young player mistakes, and I suppose they are, but again...
By the way, I like how he does these breakdowns, putting those, zones up and everything, kind of where everything is supposed to be, and it's just, this is the way the footage needs to be broken down to fans. Fans need to understand the nuances and everything like that, need to understand the roster, because we see so many armchair GMs, doing drafts and everything like that, thinking, oh man, Troy Franklin's going to be, available in the second round, whereas I don't think that. Or even heard somebody today say that Michael Penix is a second, third, or fourth round pick. I don't think Michael Penix makes it out of the first. If he does, I'd be very surprised, and if that's the case, I'd probably explore taking Michael Penix. I mean, if you really decide that we want to move on from Bryce, Penix could be a good one. Bo Nix could be a good one. But I just think that Bryce needs more time. I'm not going to give up after him after 1 year. I'm not going to be like a lot of the Carolina fan base going after the coach after, 3 games. Stuff like that needed to be solved before the season ever started. And since it wasn't, no coach could have succeeded in this system.
One thing that I always kind of talk about when I'm evaluating young quarterbacks is, seems like every time a young player makes a mistake, people say, oh, well, they'll learn to not do that in a couple of years. Well, Carson Wentz didn't, right?
Sam Darnold didn't.
Jameis Winston didn't. Like, sometimes a player just is someone who makes mistakes. Sometimes that's part of their game. And in fact, more often than not, if you're someone who makes too many mistakes, you're someone who makes too many mistakes. This play is a mistake. So it's going to be a zone blitz by Tampa Bay. And that's something we kind of knew going into this game. Todd Bowles likes to mix things up. How was Bryce Young going to be able to handle some coverages that maybe he's not used to seeing? Well, Young is going to take the snap. He runs a play action, and the pressure is coming right
Immediately, a second into the play clock, he's already completely under distress. Like I said, this personnel just can't handle it. We got 2 guys blocking 80, and it looks like 98's about to slip right through.
Right here. So what do? Don't love what you see down the field. You have to have some sort of plan, right? Even if that plan is take a sack. Sometimes that's what you have to do. If you don't know where to put the football in a way that won't be a grounding penalty, okay, take a sack. It is what it is. You're at least not putting the ball in harm's way. Sometimes you have to take a sack. It sucks, but you're in a tough situation right now. What you can't do is what Young is going to do. As you see, he throws the ball backwards. I mean, that's just what he did. It was, for some reason, initially ruled a forward pass, but they reviewed that.
Maybe he thought 79 was there for like a screen almost, but it wasn't. Why would you throw it at a lineman? That doesn't make any sense. I'm genuinely curious about what he thinks or the reason why he did that.
And it was eventually a backwards pass, which, again, luckily for them, basically was the same thing as a sack because it went out of bounds. But if that took a funny hop and stayed in play, that's a touchdown for Tampa Bay. And this was a close game. That would have kind of blown it open, though, if that stayed in bounds. So just a bad mistake by Young. And I should mention, bad weather, that might have factored in, but he kind of panicked a little bit too. To me, that was the bigger factor for Young. So, can't do that. I'm not saying he has a big issue throwing the football the wrong way. It's not like that's been a big issue this season, but he has made some mistakes and panicked.
I think he expected, 6 is Sanders. I'm probably getting it wrong. Like an idiot right now. I'm Googling it just to be safe. Pretty sure he's number 6. Yeah, okay. So yeah, I think he thought Miles Sanders was going to go on the outside of 79, and then he could just pitch it over there. That's what I think, because when you see him originally, in fact, he'll probably rewind it, but you'll see him pick up the block, and I think he was meant to pick it up and then immediately peel off. That's just my opinion.
Under pressure a time or two, and this was an example of exactly that.
Nope, got to go back now. Okay, watch how this happens. You're going to see
the football
when he
the
resets
wrong way.
it.
It's not like that's been a big issue this season, but
Miles Sanders picks up that block right there. And I think that's where he was expecting him to peel off right there and then go out. I don't think he would have been able to catch the ball regardless. But I think that's what he was expecting. He was expecting him to peel off to the left. But unfortunately, our lineman can't pick up that block. So Sanders has to do it.
Has made some mistakes and panicked under pressure a time or two.
That's my opinion. That's all.
And this was an example of exactly that. But going over here, like I said, this was a mostly positive day, even if the overall stats don't show it, even if the results don't show it. He had some good plays that didn't really end up mattering, something like this. So, Carolina's down 4, but there's 19 seconds left in the half, 3rd down and 6. Odds of getting a touchdown.
Yeah, the running joke with the Panthers is when it's 3rd and short, we're going to throw long. So I think that's going to be hilarious.
Taking the lead here are slim, but Carolina lost this game by 3 points, so getting 3 points on the board here would be huge. I've highlighted Kalijah Cansey, the interior defensive lineman for Tampa Bay. Giving up pressure has been an issue for Carolina this season. As you see, Cansey is going to get a pretty quick pressure here.
Yep, that offensive line can't hold up, man. That's what I've continued to say. And look, he's got a guy right out there available. Looks like maybe Hubbard, third. It kind of looks like a 3, top right. But yeah.
So Bryce Young's in trouble. Again, very similar to the last play.
He's in trouble because we don't have the personnel. Simple.
But this is something Young has done a very good job of over the course of his young career, no pun intended, is watch him scramble outside the pocket and eventually is going to scramble up and picks up a 1st down and gets them in field goal range. It didn't matter. There was a holding penalty, so that ended up getting called back, and they were.
That's right. That was this. Oh, God damn it. It was a great scramble. And Bryce has had a few, I'm going to use this name very loosely, so please take this with a grain of salt, because I know if you're watching this, you're going to use this as ammo. It was almost Lamar Jackson-esque. Definitely not to that level, but he's had a few where he's just bobbed and weaved. I want to say it was in this last Saints game where he had one where he just broke out onto the right side of the field. It was amazing. He's definitely got some elusiveness, something that I don't think we saw as much in college. I mean, I definitely saw him get out of the pocket and everything, but this is truly elusive in some cases.
We're not able to score a field goal or a touchdown. In fact, with a couple seconds left, they elected to not try for a Hail Mary. I don't know why they didn't do that. I'm assuming Bryce Young can throw the ball 50 yards. They were right at midfield, so that was a bad idea by Carolina. I don't know what they were doing there. The odds of something bad happening, like what happened with the Jets, are far lower than the odds of something good happening. But I digress.
Thing that he's not going to touch on in this video because this video came out before this information came out. But the rumor, or at least the screenshot that everyone has found, looks to be, obviously it hasn't been confirmed yet, from Thomas Brown's wife stating that they've basically already been fired, that they're just finishing out the season and everything like that. So I think that the offensive play calling and everything is Thomas Brown trying to get anything he can, because his resume is currently being looked at very harshly right now, considering the offense can't get going with anything. I don't think it's Thomas Brown's fault that the offense can't get going again. I've said it's a personnel problem. But I think that's something we need to put a little bit more credence into, is that behind the scenes, the entire coaching staff is completely destroyed, essentially, fractured. There's still different factions and all that other stuff. It's still a Hunger Games mentality, regardless of that Reich is gone. Because, again, Reich was scapegoated. So
this is a good play by Bryce Young, right? Obviously, he didn't know there was going to be a holding penalty, but his mobility is something that we talked about in college being a strength, and has been a strength for him at the NFL level. And again, stuff like this, simple stuff, but that's what he's supposed to be doing well, is the simple stuff, and he is doing it well. I mean, it's kind of funny that, thinking about preseason, we all kind of talked about Bryce Young being the most NFL-ready prospect, and how, Anthony Richardson.
He was the most NFL-ready prospect in a better system. So many people, again, were sold that bad bill of goods. So I think, yeah, he is absolutely. I think he'd be, arguably, I think that the San Francisco 49ers would be undefeated if they had a quarterback to the level of Bryce Young. I think it's just the location that everybody always stresses for these players. It's not where you're drafted, meaning pick-wise, it's physically where you have to play. If you're with the the Raiders right now, losing a game 0-3, tied for the lowest scoring game of all time, that's a completely different story. A lot of people like myself expected Addison to still be able to show up, but that offense just couldn't get anything together. So it's regardless of where you're drafted, but the physical location you are drafted that matters the most.
Richardson and CJ Stroud would probably take some time to develop. Well, I mean, I still think Richardson has a lot of development to go, but Bryce Young definitely has struggled right away. But I do think that he's shown those flashes of why we thought he would be good right away. Something like this, where it's zone coverage, you see the route he's going to want to throw to. As you see, Young takes the snap. There's a little bit of a window. So, okay, yeah, you should probably make this throw.
Oh, because that dude looks like he's about to jump that route. Dude just to the bottom left of the circled player. And then the dude to his left looked like he's about to come in to 19, it looks like.
Right? Well, Young isn't even thinking about it. You look over at him, he's in the throwing motion right now.
Which means that Bucs player is like, man, we about to get off to the races.
This is something I talk about a ton, is throw with anticipation, and very few young quarterbacks do this. As you see, Young puts it on the money, and it's,
And I expected Watts to make that extra step and just take that bitch, the rest of the way. Like, man, if he gets that one extra step in, he's gone.
Not caught. So, again, I guess.
Also, terrible drop right there. Bryce has seen quite a bit of drops. That's been a huge part of his problem. He's also underthrown and overthrown some pretty easy passes. So I think that this is, more part and parcel for what we've seen so far this year. Again, personnel just isn't there. And again, that's one of the dudes that I love, Boobie Miles, Miles Sanders. But he obviously made a lot of strides behind the Eagles' offensive line last year that he's not able to make with our Swiss cheese offensive line. So
the one thing you could say is, was it a bit behind his receiver? Yeah, but I don't know if that's his receiver's fault or Young's fault, right? Did the receiver run a step too far? That kind of thing. So they need to clean up the little stuff. But the timing and, the reading of the football field, I guess I should say, is very much there for Young. So that.
I think he tried to catch it and go down, and I think his better option should have been to take a step backwards. In his case, when he goes to
that stuff is good. Things are definitely a little bit off, and part of that, I think he will get better, and part of that.
So watch. Sanders is going to run up, and then he stops, but Bryce throws it just a little bit to the right. So I think Bryce is like, hey, man, you need to take this over there. Whereas Sanders is trying to extend himself, make the catch, and basically fall to the ground. Give them a 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2. Whereas he should have most likely taken a step forwards, caught the ball in momentum, and then he could have literally just almost bubble screened around the defender.
I think the team around him will
See right there. He should place his other foot, take a step forwards. We already got the defender way back, 3-4 yards. So if he takes a step forward, grabs that ball, I think he's able to get around him because the momentum is going to carry the defender. But obviously he does what he does and just tries to make the catch. Understandable. But I think he still could have gotten the first down, and I think that's why Bryce threw it that way.
Better next year, to me.
Because, again, he does that right there. He's a step. He maybe gets an extra, arm on you and maybe pulls you back a little bit. 58 stops you, but you still get the 1 yard. But you maybe, he had a better chance of catching the ball and running with it than he did of just trying to catch it. I know that sounds counterproductive because they're two separate things, but that's just what it looks like.
Feel like I've been saying it all year, but it's very apparent that listen, when you draft the quarterback first overall, put resources into getting wide receivers. Even look at the Jags.
Nope. That's not what Tepper said. Tepper said that when you have a great quarterback, he can elevate mid-tier wide receivers. I'm not even going to put the clip up here because it's so revolting. But
Jaguars, they overpaid for Christian Kirk, and it was an overpay. It was. But at the same time, they don't care because that helped develop Trevor Lawrence, and now he looks awesome. I made a Tua comparison. They obviously went out and got Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. It's like, you don't have a first-round pick, unfortunately, for Carolina. Not sure if anyone has talked about that at all. But yeah, believe it or not, they do not have the first overall pick. But you're still going to have a high pick in the second round. There's a lot of free agents on the market. Mike Evans is the free agent. You just saw what he did to you. Maybe you go out and,
Oh, the thing that I said, again, I'm not even going to go find the clip because I'm tired of tooting my own horn here, but I said we should have signed Julio Jones. I said we should have made the trade for Mike Evans and made the people in our division pay. Go get one of the I think he is actually the leading receiver for the Falcons in Julio Jones. Go get Mike Evans. If we can end up taking Michael Thomas too, man, take everybody from the South and make them like Infinity Stones and go win the division. But we need to do something because having Thielen as your number one wide receiver means that your team is not ready to win.
Throw a bag of money at him. I think that's what you do. You go out and find receivers to help Bryce Young develop, and hopefully some of these things that aren't working turn into catches, and that can help his development. But as a whole, I thought he played well today. That's what I thought. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from y'all. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.
Hey, shout out. Jackson Krueger Sports does amazing breakdowns. I just happened to see this one and felt like it needed a good reaction. Thank you guys all for watching with me. Drop your thoughts down in the comments below or hit me up on Twitter/X at RollCoveragePod. My name is Nick. This is Roll Coverage. You have a great rest of the night. Peace.